All right? Pardon? Okay, call the meeting to order, June 14, 2016, regular council meeting. We have regrets from Councillor Donaldson and Councillor Murphy. Number 2, the agenda is approval of agenda.
I'd like to
can
add,
Yes.
Can I add something?
Me as well.
It's a request, community grant for
Okay.
Evans River Wharf Association.
All right, we have.
We have a few there. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay, add yours.
and I just
Yes.
want to add, I'm just trying to figure out how to word it, but I've had a concern or complaint from a citizen about the dump where we can bring so many kilograms per week, or I don't know exactly what it is, but they were over by a bit, and they only use it once in a while, and they were thinking, well, you know, you could go every week and put 400 kilograms, but, you know, I go once a year and put 450 and I need to pay. Anyway, I just wanted to put it on the agenda and we can have a discussion. I don't know really much about the rules and regulations at the park, but you guys can fill me in, I'm sure. So.
Okay,
I as well have an addition, Warden. I emailed this morning to add it, but because it was the day of, we thought prudent to make sure it's okay here. Last council meeting, I made a notice of, it was a notice of motion. I don't specifically intend to make a motion, but I wanted to have the conversation in regards to unsightly premises this evening, at least just the conversation tonight, if that's appropriate,
unsightly,
please.
that would be 9, D and E. And we'll add that letter, district community grant also to the others.
And
Yes,
Mr. Chair, I have a district community grant also. that
okay,
I brought to Chris, and he said, you know, he said it was okay if I brought it up here tonight, so.
okay.
What was the organization?
St. Joseph, Paroisse Sainte Famille, excuse me. Mirrorship.
And yours?
Mine is from the Evans River Wharf Association.
Okay. All right. And, okay. Is that everything we have to add? If so, can we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Conflict of interest declaration. Does anybody around the table have a conflict of interest with any of the items on the agenda? If not, we'll go, next item is presentation. Apparently we don't have one, so adoption of minutes. First one is Emergency Management Organization Planning Committee
So
of
moved.
April the 6th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. B, regular council meeting of May the 10th.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And the next one is a special council meeting, the budget meeting of May the 10th also.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And the last one is committee of the whole meeting of May the 31st.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Business arising from the minutes. Have one attachment, I think it's the Hipson Bridge. We have here. I think you have something in your report?
Yes, I do.
Okay. So there's nothing here to,
No, I just we can update it now. I'm sorry, I misunderstood. The Hipson Bridge is the BRK Engineering has performed the assessment of the bridge. We have not received the report yet, so we'll be receiving that within
Yes.
a week or so. So maybe by the end, before the next meeting. we'll have something to bring to council now that he's completed the work.
Yeah,
The policy updates, we hadn't given an update on that for quite some time. It's an ongoing process. Once the policy amendments are drafted, the policy committee will review the amendments to be presented, and then eventually comes to council. So I imagine council will have a slew of them for not the next meeting, but the meeting after that. So there'd be a
In the
delay,
fall.
probably. Yeah, I mean, unless we do a special meeting
Yeah.
to deal with those policies,
Yes,
it would
right.
be then. So give us
Yeah.
time to probably finish all that work.
we'd probably have a special council meeting during the summer sometimes.
Yes, and so we could certainly do it then, if it's ready.
Yeah. Okay,
And
any questions?
oh,
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
any questions on that for CAO? Okay,
There's,
want to say something else?
there's also a couple other things. One is just a verbal, the other, there is an attachment to, a little later on in the agenda, still under business arising. Before I go to that, there's, one of the items that we were asked to talk about or to bring to council, had to do with, the community litter cleanup
Yes,
policy and how there might be changes that we should be considering changes. And so our core group has met, and we had identified short, medium, and long-term goals to try to make that, to improve the litter policy. One of the short-term goals would be to link the youth of our 2 high schools with the community groups to assist the organizations to clean the ditches. So a donation would be made to each school for that assistance. So that would mix some, because one of the concerns we had was that some of the volunteers at community halls were getting a little bit older, and it was perhaps a little less safe to go into the ditches. So we wanted to maybe get somebody a little bit, a little younger, I guess, for lack of a better way of saying it, to help out. Also, it might be an opportunity to partner the young and the more seasoned volunteers. There might be a volunteer fire department that might pick up a recruit. There might be a club that might pick up a recruit. So a good way to get the youth to give back to the community, and at the same time, the schools would be paid an amount for that service, and we would work with the schools to try to get them to work with other community groups. Our intention would be to still have those community groups get the money. Right, that was one of the,
yeah,
I think one of the foundations of the policy is that we wanted it to be a fundraising opportunity for our nonprofit organizations,
that's right.
not necessarily for individuals or for profit-oriented enterprises. So we tried to keep that as
Yes.
part of the change. The other change would be to increase the budget, consider an increase in the budget to include a program coordinator or people that could assist the organization. So those might be youth paid positions. That's an alternative, or perhaps even both could be done, depending on how much work we're looking to do. And one of the other problems that we felt was the littering. So, to try to solve the problem, check it at the pass, as opposed to having to clean it every year. And we felt that would be the role of Waste Check, because their mandate is education for
Yeah.
littering. Intentional or unintentional littering is how we were referring to it. Some people unintentionally litter when they put their garbage out too early, for example, and animals get in, and all of a sudden you're littering. So those were the discussions that we were having. I presented to you verbally now, just to have an idea of whether or not that's where you thought we might go with that, and whether there were other concerns that you might have before we present it in full. This
Mhm.
is just really the draft Cole's notes version of what we're looking at.
So with the schools, the money would go to the school?
Yes. So it would be a fundraiser for either anything in the school in terms of if it was a particular fundraiser for
Yeah.
trip or whatever,
Yes.
whatever it is, like
Yeah.
we would say it's for school.
Okay, yeah.
And that would be the 2 high schools.
Yes,
Yeah.
we felt that the
Elementary is a little bit
little
too young.
little too young.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it introduces another safety issue.
Yeah,
So
that's right.
Yeah,
yeah.
okay.
We're also quite concerned about if there are safety issues and we're dealing with volunteers, how many resources should be coming from the municipality. Perhaps we should be increasing that, because it's an administratively heavy policy, and you also have to make sure that the work is being done. So there's administrative work inside, and there's also a lot of outside work, identifying the roads that are in the worst condition. So all of that work gets done internally, and perhaps someone should be coordinating that. We did have the conversation of perhaps hiring the person we've hired as a term this year in the summer. That position we could hire perhaps a little earlier. That's an option also. So it wouldn't necessarily be, it may not necessarily be additional cost. It might just be when does the person start and when does the person finish.
Yeah.
So it could be that too.
Okay,
So we're still analyzing that.
okay, sounds good.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
if I may, have you thought about maybe the coordinator being, instead of going to somebody else, would Charlene be able to do some of that, or have you thought about that? Or maybe her play this role? Maybe that's totally contrary to her role.
I think the
Just something I'm throwing out there.
Yeah, no, I think the skill set that we'd be looking for, actually, I think I would probably approach Waste Check to see if they had resources first. Because, the resource I'm looking for on the ground is probably somebody with a different skill set than the community development officer. Yeah,
Fair.
yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Any questions on that or comments? Okay, if not, we'll go on to Welcome Street banners update.
It's fair, so Chris, with the motion. You want to do that? Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
You'll see attached on the agenda, I tried to, an update on where we are with the street banner project. I tried to provide as much information as I could that we had at the time that I wrote the report. We did receive another quote from Avid Media that I'll be sending out just to compare to the quotes that we already have. And we've scheduled a meeting, as you can see, on June 20th, which is next Monday at 2 p.m. at Université Saint-Anne, with the tourism stakeholders of the municipality. So we decided that before we got too far with the project, we should probably consult all of the tourism stakeholders, especially the ones that we were thinking of putting the banners at the sites. So we went ahead and we organized that meeting. It I guess does slow the process down a little bit, but instead of getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, just to make sure everyone's on the same page and agrees and can provide their input ahead of time. So that's where we are with that. If you have any questions or anything, I'd be glad to answer them.
Yes, Councillor.
Mr. Chair, yes, Chris, I saw your email, and if
Yeah.
there was any kind of suggestions on maybe what you could have for, like, banners, it
Yeah.
could be Acadian, it could be themed Boptic or whatever. I think that's a great idea, that if the different organizations or the different interpretive places that you have, that would have some suggestion. I like the idea of welcome, bienvenue, maybe on one or whatever. And I think, some places where it's Acadian, possibly La Butte d'Arcroix or the chapel in the Muros Hill, have the Acadian theme there. It could be,
Yep.
whatever the stakeholders think.
Yep.
But I do, because I really like the way they did it in Yarmouth. I mean, I know they're smaller than what we're looking at possibly, but there's a different theme depending where you're at. And I think it was a great idea what you suggested there. That's it.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, yes.
So these are all for not-for-profit. I'm just thinking here, if there was a private business that wanted to actually be part of this program and pay for their own banners, would that be something possible, or by the tourism stakeholder meeting, is it just the not-for-profit, or?
We actually never considered private businesses or tourism businesses participating in the project. This is intended for not-for-profits.
Okay.
And tourist attractions. There is some confusion around, we did choose the list that was on the Acadian Shores Interpretive Tour brochure, but it's not intended to be a part of that interpretive tour. We simply used that list as a base list to start somewhere.
Okay.
We would consider other locations, other tourism attractions, or that weren't part of that tour to be a part of this as well.
Okay.
But we did have an intention to be for not-for-profits.
Okay.
Yeah. But that is an interesting suggestion.
Yeah,
And we do have the directional signage, tourism signage initiative that we're trying to get going as well, which is more towards the private business.
Right.
That I guess they could, never know, maybe mingle to like combine together.
Okay.
Yeah, that was the point I was gonna raise, that we still have the outstanding signage initiative that we still are awaiting approval from the Department of Transportation. So I imagine that if these banners look good and people have a very, that it becomes a kind of an impressive display of community pride, that I imagine that question will come up.
Yeah.
So I think we should be thinking about, how far this should go, and if we are doing a banner project of this nature, we should, as council, you as council should consider policy around it.
Mhm.
So under what circumstances are locations selected, who pays, who doesn't, et cetera. So, you may be interested in doing this every year, so much every year. And so that we'll need to develop policy if that's your intention. That would be my recommendation. But for now, we're starting with the interpretive tour, and we'll get some ideas from them, and hopefully we'll come up with a design that works.
Yes.
Yeah, and the first question we'll be asking them, quite frankly, is do you want this?
Yeah.
That we don't want to go down the road and say, how does this look? And they say, well, we're really not interested in the first place. So then you go down that road. So the first step in the engagement is to just make sure that they all feel
Right.
like it's a
Yeah.
project of
Right.
value, right?
Yeah,
Okay, so that's where we're at.
okay. Anything else? Anybody else? Okay. We'll go on. The next thing is Warden's report. I think I had time to read it anyway, it's not that long. Today I went to a active transportation meeting in Halifax today, from 10 to 12. We're doing some progress, but they were interested in our plan. They want to see it when it's approved by council. They'd like to see what we're doing. Today, what's his name? Dr. Strang came and spoke to us for about a half hour and to give his opinion about this, and they're pushing, it's a health issue, and he said, if we could get everybody in the province to walk a half hour a day, we'd save a lot of money in healthcare, if everybody did. But anyway, so it was an interesting meeting. I'm still trying to wrap my head around what's going on, but it's coming. I only had 2 or 3 meetings, and it's very interesting. The council doesn't pay any expenses for that. UNSM, I'm representing UNSM, and Guy from Cape Breton also, so they pay the expenses, so no expense from here. Any questions or anything? If not, we'll go on to councillors' reports. Anybody have a report to make? Danny?
Just want to say that I attended the karate competition, I guess. It's either tournament or competition. Very, very good organization that they have there. There was a lot of there were a lot of younger kids that take part in that. Apparently, it's become very, very popular. A lot of the young kids go to that rather than soccer and whatever. This seems to be becoming very, very popular with the kids and the adults. It was very interesting. I stayed most of the day. I watched the competition the whole afternoon. I went back. I went in the morning, and I had other things to do, so I came home, and then I went back around 1, and I stayed there till about 6:30, and some very serious competitions. I mean, it's very good. Another thing too, and I've had some complaints, and I've seen it, and it has to do with litter again. The McCope Road, I have no idea who goes there, who does this, but it's garbage. It's not, it used to be fridges and washers and whatever. Maybe they're there now, the alders are so tall you probably don't see them if they're in there. But right on the side of the road, they'll drive by and they'll throw a garbage bag, and then it, of course, opens up, and it's 3 or 4 places along that road. I don't know what you do about it, I don't know how you stop it, but it's always been a problem on that road, and I have no idea who, if it's someone from that village, I honestly doubt it, but somebody is going in that road just to throw their garbage. It's all over the side of the road
It's
now.
amazing.
Yeah,
Isn't it easier to put it
exactly.
by the curb?
And it's not just a McDonald bags and whatever. This is household garbage.
Yeah.
You know, there's they'll throw a bag of lobster shells, and they just throw that, and then of course that'll disappear. The
Yeah.
pros get that eventually.
The bag will stay, but.
The bag will stay, but the garbage, they're just, I know,
Yeah.
just ordinary household garbage. I don't know, like I said, I don't know what we can do about it, but it is
Yeah,
very unsightly
Yeah.
and unnecessary.
Yeah.
It's too bad we can't catch whoever's doing this.
yeah.
Anyway, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay, Councillor Surratt?
I just wanted to say to Councillor Muse that you could get a hold of Richard Nicholson at Wastewater,
Yes,
and they have some stuff they can put. I mean,
Okay.
not for the people, but
no,
they have some.
ways of maybe,
Ways.
well, that's what I thought, you know. I don't know where you'd put it, but
Don't worry.
anyway,
Get a hold of Richard Nicholson.
I will,
Yeah.
I will,
Agreed.
yeah.
Okay, anybody else have a report?
I'd like to report that on June 4th, I attended the opening for the 6th annual geocaching, I guess, event that we have here between the municipality of Argyle and the town of Yarmouth. This year it was in the town, so it was at Town Hall. There was around 50 or 60 participants. They had, for those of you who are familiar with geocaching, it's using a GPS to find, I guess, these caches, these cache that are hidden wherever. I mean, it could be in the town, could be in the municipality, but anyway. So they have like a little competition, and then at the end, there was prizes, GPS, all kinds of different prizes that you could win. So it was, really well attended, the 6th annual, and hopefully it'll continue, because it is mostly people from outside that come, and so they stay at the hotels and they eat at our restaurants, and oh yeah, it's serious business. It's geocaching.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
I guess.
people take it very seriously. It's like a sport. It's like a hobby. It's and that's what they do, right? So anyway, it was fun. Thank you.
There's one thing that Danny mentioned about the karate club and the number of kids. I was quite impressed with the number of kids that registered for baseball this year.
Was that right?
That's picking up. Yeah, how many? There's 3. Quite a few, anyway. It's coming back.
I think what it takes is if Canada's team, the Blue Jays, do well, it does make interest in Canada
It's not
for
what's happening
baseball,
this
right?
year.
Hopefully the kids aren't watching this year, but last year,
They've got a winning record, that's right.
They're 3.5 out of first place.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right. So I think that has something to do with it.
You know who's
Yeah.
second? You know who's second?
Okay, anybody else has a report? If not, we'll go on to staff report. Mr. CAO, you want to look after that?
Since
Sir?
you asked all that nicely,
Sure.
it's not a whole lot to update actually
Yeah,
from the
I
last
know.
meeting. A lot of the work that we've been working on, well, at least in the office of the CAO, has been, finishing budget, doing that piece, and then preparing for audit. So there's been a lot of time spent in that area. There are some applications that are going to the province of Nova Scotia. The Building Canada Fund applications for water have been released. And so you've already given me authority way back in the day to go after a BCF funding for the Wastewater sewer project. So we are in the preliminary stages of application for that. The deadline for this funding is the I believe it's the 24th of June. Hopefully we'll be done this week. The other thing that is of note is the percentage of funding is different. So the percentage of funding is now 75% provincial federal and 25% local. So if you if you take that and bring it to the Wastewater project, we were planning on a third, 1/3 being residents. So that would change that number. It would reduce it from 33 to 25%, which is great news for anybody
yeah.
on that
That's
project.
right.
So of course we have to get we have to get the money,
Yeah.
and if we don't, then the gas tax would be utilized, and the gas tax would go back to the 33% that we wouldn't change, because we only have so much of that. But because of the change in policy federally, the federal component went from 33% to 50%. So the provincial component takes the rest,
Yeah.
for a total of 75%.
Yeah.
So that's a recognition that the provinces may not have as much capacity as the federal government, and it is federal policy to issue the infrastructure funding that's happening now at the Liberal government. So the other thing that hopefully the next meeting of council will be addressing is a report that will examine, future applications and where there's additional BCF funds coming down to municipalities. We have to decide as a council. The council has to decide, what's next. Which project actually should we be supporting? Okay, and so there'll be some conflict there between regional and local projects. Just a heads up. So applications are outstanding. We're waiting to hear from PCAP application, which was for the preliminary design for the Wastewater sewer. So that's that preliminary design piece. We've requested $50 for that, and hopefully we'll be successful. The green energy project is going to be moving ahead in the next couple of weeks. The Airport Corporation has a new board. The members are Irene Dotsremo, Clark Sigfrinson, Mohammed Saem, and Ron Smith. I've been asked to be the principal, CAO, which is a non-voting position moving forward. And of course, Mike Fields continues as the airport manager. The role of the council members will shift. We haven't created that new committee yet, but it would be similar to the Liaison and Oversight Committee in the REN. Not quite the same, but similar. And what that board may in fact do is we're asking that the two wardens and the mayor be members of that, because we need to have that committee understand the regional ramifications of other things that are going on, that the wardens and the mayors are often briefed more often, or are immersed in it more than the other councillors. But we would of course ask other councillors to participate in that committee also. So they wouldn't operate the day-to-day of the airport. They would make sure that the airport agreement was respected, and hopefully other work might include other regional things like port and medical clinics and other things that perhaps the Industrial Commission is doing now that might shift over time. So that is still being developed, and certainly, as you know, the Industrial Commission, there's certain things that are developing there also. So there might be less activity happening at the Industrial Commission, so the governance could be done differently. That would be my summary, unless there were any questions about the other reports or my own section of that report.
Talk about the green energy, talking with Neil McKenzie at supper time here, just before the meeting, and he showed me a picture of the site for their green energy project. They're pouring concrete, and so it's moving ahead. On my way to Halifax this morning, I met a section of a tower. I don't have any idea where it was going, but somewhere between Halifax and here.
It turned in on Stars Road and took the down Stars Road, and I figured it was going to.
Oh, probably
Yeah.
that's,
I
okay.
followed it, that's why
I
was
wondered,
late.
yeah.
One of the reasons I was late for the meeting, the audit committee meeting, was behind that.
That's an interesting reason to be late. following
I didn't say it.
following a turbine part. I wish I'd have thought of that before.
I have a question, Mr. Chair.
Yeah. Yes,
to
Councillor
the-
Surratt,
to the-
yeah.
CAO, and it's a municipal administration building. I have been pretty vocal about people putting their names in to be on the, if there was a committee to be set up. And I've had 3 or 4 people tell me that you almost need Harvard to go on the committee, on that committee, and they didn't feel. There's a few that said they would, whether they would or not put their name in. And I did fine where the qualifications to be on the committee. And I guess when I read it, I found it was a little top heavy, but I know you want people that have all kinds of, I guess, criteria to be able to go on it, but, you know, that was, some people said we can't put our names, we don't have the qualifications that they're looking for.
Well, I'll say 2 things.
Yeah, and I guess I'm relaying what I was told.
Number one, that's the, first of all, I think what you'll read is like, that's the ideal kind of scenario. We will entertain any and all applications for that committee. So what I would tell your residents, the citizens that are interested, is please, please, please apply. There's no reason to be intimidated by, you know, we just would like to have, in an ideal world, we'd like to have some people with a variety of experience, in particular in either their community pride or in construction. Some people may have had experiences. I can think of people that may have been involved in construction of coastal financial credit unions. There's a couple of them that have been constructed recently. I use that only as an example. The person or persons that might be interested in that may have had that experience might have a lot to add to a committee of
That's what I was
ours,
thinking.
right? So, but they're not carpenters, they're not engineers, they're not construction, they're not.
don't need that.
But that's not necessarily what we need. In an ideal world, we would like to have people with some sort of, you know, practical experience around these things, and some experience around working as a group and trying to collectively make a decision. I would encourage anyone that is interested in this project to apply. And we're not, you know, we're not asking for a lot of background information in terms of the application. It certainly wasn't our intent to be intimidating in any way. We want 3 good members, and so the more that apply, the better.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just clarify that.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, I was talking to one, gentleman the other day that told me he's very, very much interested. Yeah. Yes, Councillor Burke.
I was just wondering, Nat put on her report that we received $18,000 from our grant that we applied for the East Pubnico ball field. So I was wondering when we were gonna discuss that, bring it to council to approve the other amount that we need to do this project.
Well, I think in my mind, I was going to bring that to the committee the whole next meeting,
Perfect.
and we'll go from there, for sure. Certainly, I think as you may have noted through my email, you know, mea culpa, it should have been as part of the capital budget initially. We're certainly going to recommend that the project move forward. When you get a third funding from somebody else, you typically like to say yes.
Yeah.
So that's a really good project, and that in fact follows your priorities from 2 years ago. Like it started last year actually with the recreation, but the priority was to set it up, and we've been very fortunate that we received the money for that.
Yeah.
So,
It's a good project.
I would certainly make sure that it's for decision in the committee of the whole meeting.
Yeah, Nat was telling me that we have a certain time limit to spend the money that we're receiving, the 18,000, I'm not sure.
Yeah, that won't be an issue.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We'll go on. There's no other questions or comments on the staff report. We'll go on to Community Hall Capital Project Grant Evaluation Committee recommendation.
I suppose I should open that.
Well, pardon?
I should have probably opened that.
Yeah. Seems quite obvious.
Yeah,
with the point system they use. You want to speak to that?
Sure.
Yeah.
So the point system is on the back, and
Yeah.
what we did was we did a review, we did a visit of these clubs, community halls, and the score was based on a variety of things. One was the condition, if they really needed something badly, they had a higher score. How many potential capital projects could occur at the hall? Well, everybody scored high on that because every hall had multiple projects, and how many activities were happening. And so we took certain numbers, like more than 6 fundraisers, 25 activities in a year, and over 50 members in its nonprofit organization. So one of the challenges was that these community halls don't work as much as a membership organization as much as they used to. It used to be very heavily drawing on membership revenues, not so much anymore. It's more fundraising and activity. So that one, most halls scored a little low on, but some did have, in fact, very close to 50 members. And the activities were all over the board. A lot of bingos. Some had open bars with VLTs. Others did not. But whatever the case, the top 3 certainly scored very high in terms of activity.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you see the rest of the criteria there. I won't go line by line, although it is tempting. You know, one of the other things that we felt that was important was, are you putting money on the table yourself? Like, what is it that you're doing, or are you relying solely on the municipality? That was one of the criteria. So there's actually one of the top 3 has less contribution than the other 2, but and so that in fact reduced their score, but they scored well in other places. So there wasn't just one thing. Right, so when your community is asking questions, well, you know, we have like 50 fundraisers, why didn't we, you know, well, okay, well, you got top score on that one, but there's other things that were measured also, right? And so it was clear to us after we did work, and it was work that took about 3.5 hours, so it was not taken lightly, and we went through each application. Every member that evaluated the criteria is not involved or had no attachment or association with any of the nonprofit organizations, and there was a specific declaration of conflict from Chris Frotton because he is a member of the Twin Village Social Club, and so had no involvement in the decision in that area. We purposely did not include Charlene either because we wanted her to help where other community halls might have needed some assistance in filling in the applications. They had that resource, and we didn't want her to be at both ends of that. So as a consequence, Wedgeport Legion scored the highest. East Pubnico Community Hall scored number 2, and the 3rd is the Twin Village Social Club. A closer 4th is the Harbour Hill Community Hall. And so, as you know, the policy, we're recommending that the top 3 scores each receive an amount of $15,000 to contribute to their projects. I would recommend that as a motion. Don't forget that this is year 1, so that will eliminate those 3 for the 2nd year, and these others, along with other organizations, can apply. So these can reapply, and others that have not applied can apply next year.
1 year?
You get one crack at the $15,000.
No, but how
they can,
excuse me.
yeah,
When can they reapply?
they can reapply every year until they get the money.
Sorry. If they get it, when can they reapply? If we choose to do it?
Oh,
What's
this
the-
is
The 3
this,
that
It's
get
a
it
5-year
this year.
program.
That's what I thought.
Right.
That's why I was
You can't
confused with the
reapply.
1 year there. I thought it was 5.
You
Yeah.
can't reapply.
Yeah.
yeah. Once you get the money, you can't apply for another
5.
Well, I guess another 4 years
Yeah.
because
Just
Yeah.
curious.
The
Okay.
program is for 5 years, so after 5 years,
Yeah,
we will
that's what I
decide if
thought,
we
but
continue or not,
I
right?
got confused with something that was
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
My apologies.
Okay.
now we may get to a point in year 4 that all of the community halls
what
that
I
are
was
interested
thinking.
in obtaining that fund apply, and then you've exhausted that. So at that point, you can make a decision whether you would accept additional applications, some smaller applications, or you would restart after year 4 as opposed to year 5. You can do those things because it's your policy.
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
Okay, did you have anything else?
Yes, actually, I'll make the motion that we approve the Westport Legion, the East Pubnico Community Hall, and the Twin Village Social Club of a contribution of $15,000 each.
I'd like to second that.
You all heard the motion. Any more questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carried. 6. There you go. Next item. Agreement to use information. I don't know what company it is, something Canada. Scytl.
The company formerly known as Intellivote, how's that?
Intel, oh, okay.
Was that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, so Scytl is, I believe, the pronunciation.
Scytl.
Scytl Canada. So they're the company that took over the contract for Intellivote. This isn't the same document, solicitor. This particular document is simply an agreement to use the information. It's a fairly standard item. Essentially is required by the Chief Electoral Office, respecting information management between the company that's doing our election and us. In particular, it speaks to us using the e-voting system, and that they would become authorized to use our list of electors. That's really the primary reason why we are looking to sign this.
Okay.
So I mean, we have to do some changes to the wording of this. We have to fill in the blanks and the but so what I was looking for from council is a motion to negotiate and potentially execute this contract. There's no negotiation, but there might be some minor changes. What I'm looking for is some direction, the authority from council to execute this contract. Typically, the CAO can execute contracts on your behalf, but because this has to do with the list of electors, I was particularly sensitive around making sure that council was aware that we by contract will give them permission to use this information, which they must have.
They must, yeah.
If they're going to do
Yeah.
the election, they must have it. So,
Okay.
so I would recommend that with your. I would recommend a motion to that effect.
Yeah, okay. Any questions on that, or a motion?
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second
And
it.
second, any questions or comments on that, or? Not, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item is Old Lobster Pound, Pond Road, Lower West Pubnico.
Yes, that was mine.
Yes.
I sent you guys an email regarding the old lobster pound. I know you've heard the story before. Nothing much has changed. There's still a smell that's at low tide that when we have a westerly wind that comes into the community. The only thing that's changed a bit is that the rock formation, the natural rock formation over the winter has actually seemed to come in a little bit closer. So now the gap where the seaweed is coming in is not as far as it used to be. It's probably, I don't know, guesstimating 50 to 75 feet, where it used to be probably, 100 or 150 or 200 feet, right? So, so what I'm doing right now is I'm going around trying to figure out, what kind of solution we could go with. And I again, in the email you saw, I talked to DNR. They don't have any funding programs or such. They sent me to DFO Habitat, which has an office in Dartmouth. Same story. DNR was very helpful actually, and they are ready to issue permits, because they're the ones that are responsible for between the high and the low water mark, that's where it's occurring. So I'm just I've been in contact with a local contractor and try to get an estimate of what the cost would be. And once I get a cost, because I have really no idea, I'll bring it back to council. I'm hoping to get maybe a little bit of help from staff on certain things. There might be something out there that I'm missing. Maybe I think John Sullivan might be a good resource person on that front, because he's dealt not with this exact stuff, but he has, I think he he knows a lot of people in this type of, you know, types of situations, but anyway, just basically an update. I'm hoping that by the next meeting, committee of the whole, I have something more concrete, pardon the pun, but anyway, and, you know, so I can bring it back to council, so, okay? Any questions?
Yes, Councillor Surratt.
Couple of things, you might have answered this back when you first brought it. Is there an original owner of that pound that's
There,
responsible for that? There a deed or?
it used to be owned by, the name, I can't seem to remember, but, that was back in the 50s or 60s, Eldrick, you remember?
Haven Seafood, was it? Oh,
Yeah,
sorry.
which I think was maybe an outfit from where the States?
New
or-
York.
New York, yeah. Now, there's adjacent landowners, but they had nothing to do with the pound, as far as I know.
No.
And, yeah, so I guess to find an owner that would be
I don't think.
responsible, I don't think, you know, I don't think that's, would work, but,
The other point, which I know you've dug into it, any, like Charlie, would there be any environmental grants or stuff, you know, that?
I've talked to the Department of Environment, and they're apparently not responsible for in between the low and high water mark unless something is done to alter the landscape, or then they have to be engaged, so that, you know, nothing, I guess, environmentally disastrous is, you know,
Just a stick,
yeah.
just a stick.
Yeah.
And the other thing that happens there, it's close to our treatment plant, and people sometimes blame the treatment plant, and it's the Lobster, it's the old pound. It was a Lobster pound.
And vice versa.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it depends on the wind direction and, you
Yeah.
know, and high tide, low tide.
Yeah.
Is the sun shining? What's the temperature? You know, so,
It's
yeah,
pretty bad, I guess.
yeah.
Okay,
Thank you.
Yeah.
all right. Next item is dumping. Somebody wanted to talk about dumps or illegal dumps or?
Dangerous and unsightly.
Dangerous and unsightly.
Yeah,
policy.
unsightly premise also, but,
That was Calvin.
Calvin, it was Calvin that had
The
to
waste,
dump,
the waste limit.
Pubnico, how many kgs?
Okay.
oh, yes.
It was for the.
Oh, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
sorry for
Okay,
the,
I'm
for the
sorry, I
waste part,
didn't-
yeah, yeah, dangerous and unsightly, was Lucian, yeah.
Lucian, yours is.
Yeah, I just got a complaint from a citizen that, you know, I think they had some kind of construction program or project at home, and they brought some garbage, to the dump, and it was over, was it 400 kilograms?
200
200
week.
kilograms?
200 per week,
I thought it
Yeah.
was 300.
Okay, 200?
per week.
So, which is around 450 pounds or so. Anyway, and they were over, so they got dinged, you know, I don't forget what it was. It wasn't a big amount, but what they said was, well, you know, we go once a year, and we have to pay, you know, X amount of dollars because we were over by a bit, while somebody, you know, could go every week and bring 200, you know,
198.
yeah, you know. So I guess she was wondering if there was any way that you could, you know, have that, either that limit, or that weight limit, you know, for the year, or how do they, I don't know how they keep track of, they must keep track because they, you know, they ask for your name and everything, right? So they know you're from the municipality.
Your civic number, yeah.
Yeah.
Civic, yeah.
Yeah,
I can answer a little bit, but maybe I can pitch in after. Just you could maybe tell your resident that the municipality of Argyle is the, I might be going on a limb on this, but the town doesn't allow this. The municipality of Argyle is, I think, the only one that allows that we bring free, 200 kg a week. That some of the town and the municipality don't. The municipality, I'm not sure, the town doesn't.
Correct.
But I think I'll have to check back, but we're the only one that does that. So the others in the other units, if they bring anything, they have to pay.
so the residents have to pay,
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the other two units.
okay, so.
I'm not saying it's the answer, but I'm saying
No,
it's.
no, so we're paying for our residents.
Yeah, we're paying, the Argyle policy is that if it's 200 kgs a week or less, they don't get charged, and of course, somebody gets charged, it's the municipalities that
Right,
get
okay,
charged.
yeah.
So was she charged the excess or
Yeah.
the whole thing? Just the excess?
Excess,
Okay,
yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have to you know, if you do one of those things, you have to draw a line somewhere, and
Yeah.
unfortunately, that line didn't work out for that
She would have
person.
made 2 trips, too, if you know,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
They only weigh once, you only know the weight once you leave.
Yeah.
Because they weigh your truck.
That's
a little
right.
bit going in, and then they weigh
Where
it
you coming back?
coming back, and then that's the only time you know how much you weigh.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. So unless you had a scale at home, you wouldn't have a clue how, you know, really, well, you would have a
Well,
clue, but,
it sounds like it's pretty near a commercial.
no,
No.
200 kgs is not much when you've
not
got a
Or house
little,
shingles on a house.
that's
would be
right,
more than that.
bingo.
Yeah.
Bingo.
So
Yeah, but
if,
that-
so that is definitely, sorry, it's definitely a municipality of Argyle policy. It is not a policy of the waste park.
Yeah,
So it's appropriate to bring it to this
Oh, yeah,
table as
yeah.
opposed to
Yeah.
that one.
yeah,
You know, it's currently our policy, and if council wished for us to review that, it could do so via motion to re-examine that weight restriction and think about it and do an environmental scan, or that's probably what I would do if I was asked to review what we're doing. Is the first thing I do is check on what other people are doing to inform you in terms of where that might be something that you wish to consider changing.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
one thing I could also, what we could do is find out from the waste park manager, how many people do bring things in, and how much over are these people, you know? Because from what I'm hearing from our manager, that it is, the municipality, there's quite a few people that do take advantage of it. And instead of having it maybe dumped in the woods, which somebody could make a dump somewhere in the woods, at least they have to,
Oh, yeah.
they can bring it there. That's a huge help. That what we're doing, I think, is positive.
Yeah.
But we could check with the waste park, and I could do that, or and bring a report next meeting. If you do it, you know, if that's a help, or might not be a help for what this person's looking
yeah,
Yeah.
no.
You know.
Yes, Councillor Hughes.
When you get the invoice for that type of dumping, does it say the civic numbers? Does it say who brought it, or do you just get a blanket bill
No, I
that says this is how many was done?
So
So
our
we
camera
know.
person would have seen those invoices on a fairly regular basis.
Yes.
That's how we roll in Argyle. Apparently our camera people are also garbage experts. I was gonna say yes, but I was really quite hesitant because I couldn't recall.
So it's there,
But
so
we-
we know,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? And going back to changing, no matter what limit you're gonna put there,
Yeah, that's right.
somebody's gonna go over.
That's right, yeah,
Good day.
yeah.
To me.
yeah,
Good point.
Yeah,
And to me, I think it's a good service. I use it, and when I'm
So-
over, I'm over. But it doesn't cost, you know, you only pay for what it's over.
Yeah.
Now, another thing too is if you bring, like shingles or whatever, I think you pay for the.
That's just what I was gonna say.
It's a different, it depends on what you bring,
Yes.
that's
You
charged
can't
to
do your
the
roof.
municipality.
There's sorted and unsorted rates.
Yes.
There's a variety of different rate structures. So you know, maybe one of the things that we should be doing is informing, reminding council, because it's been a while. See, we don't do this directly. We do it indirectly. We have a board that does this, that is shared with other units. So it might not be a bad idea to remind ourselves as a group how that works. And I know that Councillor Scytl would certainly do that. And I know that our waste park manager would probably be really happy to talk to this group about how it works and what the challenges might be, and et cetera. Keeping in mind that any sort of policy change around this, it shifts the burden, right? So if you're going to increase from 200 to 300, I'm not suggesting to do one thing or another at this point, because I don't know. But if you're gonna, but what I can tell you is if you shift it up, obviously the municipality pays more. So the group, all municipal residents pay more, and the person that is doing the work pays less. Right, so that's really the concept, right? So it's obviously at some point 200 was reasonable. That may not be reasonable in this day and age. And you know, construction differs, and maybe weights are different, and maybe it is worthwhile to look at. But keep in mind that
I
if
didn't-
that number goes up,
I
so
didn't
does our
I didn't
cost.
realize that construction waste was part of it.
Me either, I didn't know.
So you shingle your own roof,
Yeah, you can bring
you
in
can
like,
bring,
You
Four-
can bring them,
400
but
and-
don't, but I didn't think if you brought shingles like that, I thought you paid the full amount, that none of it was charged in the municipality, I could be wrong.
no,
but-
so that part I don't know all the
Yeah.
ins and outs of it.
anyway.
I
So-
brought this stuff once, but they really, you can bring in, I believe, construction material maybe less, or
Yes.
not the
Okay.
shingles, but you, as an individual, but I don't think the industries, the commercial.
No.
waste-
Commercial don't,
No.
commercial
they pay.
On that.
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure.
that's
Yeah.
For sure.
And shingles may be different, of course.
Yeah, I'm not sure, I didn't think.
And if you're gonna make two,
But anyway,
if you're gonna make two trips from Pubnico, you might as well pay the extra there.
yeah.
If
You're
we-
Really?
gonna pay it in gas.
That's right.
That's not an,
And I think that's a point that I have brought up to this person, was that, hey, you know, maybe you could have done 2 trips, and basically the answer was, well, you know, I'd have to spend that much more on gas and this and that, so, but anyway, the fact that
probably
we're
gonna be
the
on
only,
3 times a
we're the
day.
only unit that pays up to the 200 kilograms, sorry, is, I think that's, you know,
That's a plus.
that's a plus, which I think citizens will appreciate that, so.
The thing is, we pay, when individuals bring, we pay tipping fee. If we send it by the truck, we pay the tipping fee anyway,
And
isn't it?
it's irregardless.
You know,
Yeah.
we pay for it anyway.
I think the focus of the conversation could maybe be around the time limit and not necessarily the weight, because the issue that the person has is that it's a weekly limit.
Mhm.
Okay.
So you could maybe extend that to a monthly, or I don't know how all that works, or a yearly. So instead of looking at it on a weekly basis, someone could technically bring 1,000 kilograms or more than that, 10,000 kilograms in a year, right? If they brought it every day. So, you know, once a week, yeah. So maybe it's
Yeah.
just looking more at the timeline and not necessarily the weight restriction.
If they have a way of accounting for it.
Yeah,
that's
if they
another
do,
thing.
with
If-
civics.
If they do internally have. a way
Yeah.
of accounting.
Okay,
Yeah,
so we'll get some more information.
The,
Yeah.
the contractor
Put one
can't,
in.
the contractor can't bring that
No,
at no charge, you realize that?
Okay, thank you.
so you have a contractor doing a job for you, and you bring the stuff there, you,
Yeah, up to
Yeah.
200,
yeah, it's not very much, of course.
some people do that.
Yeah.
We had a guy that was bringing shingles and stuff like that in, and he was using his civic number, and come to find out he had a bunch of apartments, and the first thing, they kind of
It was
nailed him.
commercial, yeah.
He said, yeah.
Okay. Unsightly premises, I think Councillor Leblanc wants
Yes.
to add that.
I guess, I've mentioned this at this table many times, but we don't actually sit down and have a conversation. If we could get an update from staff on what our current unsightly policy is. It's a touchy subject, just to kind of explain where I'm coming from. I've looked at the ins, I've looked at the outs. We have a flawed system, however, we have a system in place that we feel probably is the best bang for our buck. What I am getting at that our system is flawed is there is still unsightly premises in the municipality of Argyle, and although we're doing our best in my eyes and we're doing what we can, I feel that our policy probably could, although we're doing our best with the current rules is what I'm getting at, we could probably try to tighten up the rules. It's a difficult task. I've had every resident, give me ideas. However, most people, when they think it's a simple solution, go tell them to clean up. If you look at every angle, it's a very complex situation. You can force someone to clean it up, and the only way you can do that is by, you can ask and you can ask and you can ask, but at the end of the day, you can't really force them. However, the municipality could clean it up ourselves, and then apply the bill to their tax bill, which, fine, that would be one way of forcing it to happen. However, one thing I've noticed is a lot of the premises that are unsightly are usually associated with low income. So you're starting a graver problem there by forcing people probably in close to eviction, because if they can't afford to pay their tax bill, well, then they have to leave the premise, and then the municipality is stuck with a tax bill at tax sale, etc. So if you look at all angles, it's difficult. I understand that there's many issues for and against tightening up our policy, but if staff could just kind of give us a quick update, probably CEO Muse, as to how our policy stands now, and just to get the conversation going now for our next budget meeting, which I guess would be next year, just to kind of look at what we're doing now and maybe have the conversation around what we could maybe change to help better the visual side of our communities.
Yeah, it's a problem everywhere, and who decides what's unsightly and what's not, you know?
I've polled, that's
You know,
exactly it. Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, as they say. Well, so is unsightly.
Yeah.
However, you
Yeah.
can list, I mean, deficiencies in
Oh, yeah.
property that,
Of course.
I mean, the towns do it. I mean, the towns pay a lot more taxes, and they have, they have much stricter rules as to what you're supposed to follow. Again, we're not a town. I understand that. There's a reason. There's differences between towns and municipalities, but I've polled people, and I've said, would you like your municipality to spend your tax dollars on cleaning someone else's mess? And that's a very touchy subject. We all understand that. If we start cleaning someone else's messes, well, then people may purposely leave messes, assuming someone else will clean it up, and you're opening up a huge can of worms.
Yeah.
So I understand there's no perfect solution. However, there's a problem. There's a major problem, and it's not going to get amended unless we talk about it. So I'll ask CEO Muse, I know you've said this many a time, if you could just give us a quick update as to how policy works and how it's definitely what I'm saying is no reflection on staff. Every time I have an issue, staff is on it like that. They're doing an excellent job with what they're being told to do now. It's at this level that I think maybe some changes could be made. Sorry, CEO Muse.
So the last time the policy was amended was the 30th of November of 2015. So that's not that long ago. And what we had done with that amendment was we had added section 4, which had to do with community inspections. So the issue at hand, the last time we had this conversation, was that council felt like we weren't really being that proactive, that we were being reactive, that our only recourse was on a complaint basis, which was in fact the case. That was what we were doing.
That's right.
So in an attempt to decrease the amount of dangerous and unsightly properties, staff has by policy looking to proactively inspect communities 2 times a year. Now, I can't tell you whether we've done it in the spring. I can tell you we've done it in the fall. And to look for dangerous and unsightly properties using the scope of inspections and order of priority established in the policy. And there are general guidelines which I will go over. So to focus the work, council has chosen to concentrate its efforts on Highway 3, number 308, 334, 335, and Highway 203. So there was a reason why we done that, because beauty or unsightly is in the eye of the beholder. Sometimes the beholder can't see what's out there, and so there's a lot of back roads that might have some unsightly premises that nobody's complaining about, and they have a lot of property. It's not bothering anyone, and so nobody's really causing any issue with those particular properties. And we know that our staff can't actually go out and proactively look at every single community. We just don't have the resources. So this was the way to kind of find a middle ground. The process of identifying and dealing with dangerous and unsightly is by policy, but it follows the MGA. And what we do in practice is when we receive a complaint, we go out and we do an inspection, visual inspection of the property. And ultimately, we have one dangerous and unsightly administrator who makes the decision whether or not that place is considered unsightly or dangerous. We've had conversations inside staff conversations around what if we had community input in that decision-making process, so that communities could find a way to provide their own input, their own interpretation of what dangerous and unsightly would be. Would also be an interesting approach to see from the community standpoint what staff has to go through from a legislative perspective, because I think there are many residents that don't necessarily understand the legal process associated with doing this and how it has to follow such. particularly if we're going to go on somebody's property and clean it ourselves, that becomes more complicated. And I think council knows that only council can actually decide whether something is to be demolished. The administrator cannot make that decision. He recommends that decision, and it comes to council, and council can accept or make a different decision around the demolition side.
Except in an emergency situation.
Correct, with the exception being if there's something
Dangerous.
dangerous in an emergency.
Imminently dangerous.
Yes.
In my 18 years as your solicitor, that's happened once.
Right. So I think what Councillor LeBlanc is talking about is the deterioration of homes, either abandoned or lived in, and the accumulation of, unsightly stuff on the property over time. And that is happening more and more often, particularly in abandoned home situations. Our policy continues to be that we try to get them to do it themselves. We have on occasion forced cleanups, and we have on occasion done that and put it on their tax bill. The bigger problems are the demolition cases. Typically, the citizens have responded fairly reasonably. Those that have not the means necessarily to do it immediately. And so that's the problem.
That's the problem.
I can assure you that staff has the same concern as you do. And in doing some of the preparation for this, I did go out to AMA, other CAOs across the province, asking the question, are there any alternative policies around dangerous and unsightly? Most policies appear to be one of enforcement, not of encouragement. And so, I think that there are some properties out there that if we put a little TLC in, might actually extend the life of those assets as opposed to dealing with them before it's too late, where you have roofs caving in, that has to come down typically. We as part of the community drive-by, I guess, was to identify some of those also, to see if some of those homes could be remediated before it was too late. Because once a house gets to a certain point, that's it. And so we all know that a house to come down is between 20 and 30,000, and we're not having a lot of luck collecting that.
If I may, we do have a problem with abandoned homes. However, it seems like those maybe aren't the homes I get so many calls about, because people understand they're abandoned, I guess, so they kind of feel maybe, nothing's gonna happen, nobody's there. I'm more so seeing issues with enforcement in terms of where there are people living in the homes, and simply they have a different opinion of what's acceptable in their yard versus what their neighbors. I often get calls with someone who keeps their property clean, complaining about their neighbor. And they're not, some are, but they're not so much neighbor feuds. It's simply just, why do I keep my yard clean and they don't have to? So is there something we can do to list more specifically things that are not permissible in our municipality? Is there any way to tighten that up?
Yes, the current definition of dangerous and unsightly is on the policy.
Mm-hmm.
However, as is the case, no matter what however you define it,
Mm-hmm.
For example, an accumulation of wood shavings, paper, sawdust, dry and inflammable grass or weeds or other combustible materials considered dangerous and unsightly. Well, how much is an accumulation?
Mm.
Right. So while there are definitions
Mm-hmm.
inside the dangerous and unsightly, there still leaves a layer of interpretation
Right.
that is at the discretion of the eye of the beholder.
Makes sense. Can we list more? Can we list things like parts of renovations or car work or rusted motor vehicles, garbage, garbage, being stored on your own property where it's visible, things like that.
They are part of the definition.
They are.
Derelict vehicle, vessel, item of equipment or machinery includes a vessel, vehicle, item of equipment, machinery that is left on property without lawful authority and appears to the administrator to be disused or abandoned by reason of its age, appearance, mechanical condition. So I think the issue isn't that it isn't addressed in the policy, it's whether we're able to enforce the policy in an effective way. And that has to do with capacity of staff, and it has to do with you know, how far we're willing to go with that. We, right now, our dangerous and unsightly administrator is our public works administrator, who is also a development officer, who is also a building inspector, who is also a fire inspector. So it's,
I understand.
so we have a situation where there's only so much that particular person can do. We can, if it's interesting to staff, to council, we can take a look at perhaps our regional partners to see if they have somebody with capacity that we can tag on. This has not been budgeted obviously for this year, but it's something to think about if you're that serious about it.
I agree. I guess I wasn't aware that the policy was already quite specific, which is sort of concerning because there's a problem. Or if the policy is well written, as it does sound like it is, and there's still a problem, well, it means the issue lies somewhere in between, like you're saying, and like anything, it comes to funds. So I guess this evening I'm not going to make a motion. I don't want this conversation to die out, and I think this has to be well thought of before next year's budget planning, because we're talking about nice things like placing banners for tourists and beautifying areas, where this lies on the other side. This is, you know, you can have something very beautiful, you can work really hard, and if 2 doors over, it's an area that looks not so visually appealing. It's concerning to residents as it is to me. So I feel like in my last 4 years here, it's a growing problem actually, which is.
I'm in the same shoes.
Yeah.
I'm in the same shoes as you, so it's growing.
Sorry.
Myself, if I may, Mr. Chair, I've got a couple of places in my district for sure that the only time I don't get calls at least once a month is if we got a good snowstorm with snow last all winter, then quiets down, or when the grass grows tall. But when it's in the spring, or when it gets before the snow comes down, I've got like one place about 50 lawnmowers, all tipped upside down, and cars tipped in the yard, and all kinds of stuff. And this is one of the biggest issues. I've got a couple of places that. And I was wondering when our officer was going to make his rounds, because if he goes when it's a lot of snow or tall grass, he may not see about half as much. But if he goes at certain times, he can certainly see it. But it's you know, so these people, what they do, they keep on piling on top and on top. Now, even the grass doesn't hide it. I mean, you probably know what I mean, but anyhow, you live in that community. But anyhow, to me, it's like Councillor LeBlanc said, it's one thing that I've had a lot of people complain about. They spend money to keep their places clean, and then they have to see this next door 2 or 3 houses down, and you know, they don't feel it's right.
Solicitor wants.
I believe that the definition of dangerous and unsightly to which the CAO was reading, although part of policy, is probably verbatim from the Act. And you are limited by Part 15 of the Act as to what policies, you know, how any policies that you establish are to be established in conformity with Part 15 of the Act. So anything any wording that's used to broaden the policy or whatnot, and if I'm asked to vet it as a result of that, you know, that's one of the things that I'll be referring to, is what is in the Act. To broaden the definition on your own, and if a person is prosecuted as a result, or made part, or made or a complaint is made, and you proceed with it, and you rely on your own definition that is not necessarily within the ambit of the Act, well, that person could potentially take you to task in legal proceedings, and take a stand that the definition is what we call ultra vires, which means outside of your jurisdiction. So you have to be careful. So I'm just saying that if we're going to go through the process of rehashing the policy, and if I'm asked to review it, I'm just telling you what angle I have to take as your solicitor here in order to ensure that you nonetheless stay within the ambit of the municipal government in Part 15.
Thank you. Yes,
If I may, I will confirm that the MGA definition of dangerous and unsightly is in fact verbatim to the policy. I'm not sure that Councillor LeBlanc is citing a policy issue. I think what Councillor LeBlanc is concerned about is a process issue.
Yeah.
Is how is it that we're actually executing this policy?
I wasn't sure what I'm concerned about, it's just, I know there's a problem.
Yeah.
It may be a question of resources more necessarily than.
I think so, yeah.
Well,
Policies.
what I think we will do is you know, our Public Works, our administrator of dangerous and unsightly is not present here today. So what I'll have our administrator do is to develop a report to council to give you an indication, you know, how many complaints we receive, how many are dealt with, and in what way. All that information is certainly available. We don't necessarily bring it at every council meeting. This has not been the first time that it's been raised. Perhaps this information should be coming to you more often, so that you're aware of, you know, which ones are being identified, even by civic number, and showing, you know, what's the dealio, what's the deal, like how, you know, what did we do? Did we take no further action? What was the reason? And so that I can assure you that most of that information is easy to obtain. Some of it may require some administrative work. I think that's from my perspective, that would be the starting point. I would assign that work to staff, get that information. The second piece is that we can do a process review, and then after that we can decide whether or not we have the resources to execute the process effectively. We can then take that to council for additional consideration.
I'd like for it to not be dropped here, so if we could get regular updates on what's happening there, just like we're getting through other departments in the staff report, it would certainly be a start, keep us in the loop.
Yeah.
That way the conversation doesn't die, because I bring it up here and it seems like, you know, I understand that there's issues. We're at the moment, we're doing everything we're doing with the resources we have. However, in the future, that may look differently. We may need to adjust to acquire more resources or something.
And you might better understand the struggles that are being encountered by the staff in meeting with policy.
And that I would,
Absolutely.
that I would appreciate, because when people ask me, when residents ask me, you know, what's being done, I feel helpless because I can't answer accurately. I don't know exactly what's being done. I know it's an issue and I know we're on it and we're doing the best we can. However, you know, hearing both sides of the story would certainly help in making decisions in the future.
Well, sorry, that wasn't my turn. Apologize.
Okay, Deputy.
Councillor LeBlanc, I know where you're coming from, and, you know, I'm thinking about, we're talking about dangerous and unsightly. When it comes to dangerous is a lot more easy to deal with.
Yes.
Because, you know, it's dangerous, right? It's the unsightly part that is the problem, because, you know, it's kind of a judgment of, you know, your opinion or the community's opinion to the property owner's opinion, and, you know, so that's, I think we've been struggling with that for, you know, even before you were on council. So, but the dangerous part, you know, is easier to deal with. But the unsightly is the tough one.
Good point.
Yeah.
And that incident that I told you that we took action for demolition, yes, it was much easier to ascertain.
That's right,
yeah, of course.
At that point.
That's right.
I can second that.
Oh, it's
Easy, I remember that incident.
Okay.
I'm sure you were, I don't believe you were part of the group yet. It was John Cook was the administrator at the time.
Yeah, it's before me.
yeah.
Okay,
So what I would require from council, if this is an issue that all councillors are concerned about, or at least the majority, is that we need clear direction, right? So as staff, we need clear direction. We have updated a policy. I think the policy is fairly strong. It gives us the ability to do what needs to be done. So what I'm hearing is a request for staff to produce additional information around the status of complaints, which can be brought to council's meetings. So when people ask you what's going on, you can actually go into the agenda, or you can refer them to the agenda and say, yes, here's what's going on Civic 31, Chemin des Bouleaux, or whatever. So and then the other piece, I think, would be a review of the process. That's what I'm hearing. I might be putting words in your mouth, but that's what I'm hearing you say. What I require is some form of motion that will call us to do something, right? And then
Is
at
there
that point,
privacy there that we have to watch?
Not the Civic. I think the Civic would be
Civic, when you
fine.
said
We
that,
wouldn't,
I
we
didn't
wouldn't,
see
well, I'm 37,
Yeah.
but anyway.
I
I use 31 because it doesn't exist. Anyway, so,
didn't-
not yet anyway.
You were your smart.
Not yet anyway. You never know.
There's no such,
I-
so privacy
Okay.
wouldn't, even
So-
by the number?
I'll-
This-
Yeah, we would address any privacy issues, but I don't believe that there are any privacy issues breached by merely stating the civic number. But we will, as part of that, make sure that those privacy issues are addressed.
I'll make a motion that staff regularly update us in the format they choose as appropriate at council meetings, so that we don't lose sight. Actually, I'm making a motion, I should make it long-winded here. I'll make the motion that staff regularly update us in an appropriate form at each council meeting, as well as make a review of the current process of how we deal with these issues.
I'll second that.
A second, oh, that's unsightly and dangerous.
Correct? Namely
Okay.
and sightly.
Just a point of order, it's been seconded, I guess, but is it dangerous and unsightly, or is it unsightly?
My current issue is solely with unsightly.
Same here.
Because the process around dangerous is pretty slick.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
If it's
Yeah.
dangerous, it comes down.
That's
But
right.
I would add it to the motion simply because
But it's the
part-
same
it's part of
policy.
the same policy.
That's
part of
right,
the same
yeah.
process.
It's fine
Yeah.
with me.
If I can suggest.
It's fine with me, but as long as it's understood, my issues are solely at the moment with unsightly.
Okay,
Same policy.
we have a motion on the floor, a seconder. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next item is correspondence and for information, Recreation Facility Development Grant Program Response. 2015-16 May building permit comparisons and a consultation with regard to proposed amendments to the Liquor Control Act. And call for applications, clean water and wastewater fund. Now, anything on any one of those items that, yes? Deputy.
The last one, call for applications, I was reading through this one, so this is for clean water, wastewater fund. I haven't gone through the whole program, but is this something that CAMUs that we could maybe tap into? We've had, I guess, another smell issue at our treatment plant in West Pubnico.
Mhm.
Is that something we can maybe tap into?
The application that we'd be submitting under this one is for the Wedgeport
Oh,
wastewater
okay.
project.
All right. I take it this is just for smaller amounts of monies, or do we know?
You know?
No, this one is, I can't recall exactly the amount.
Chunk of gab there.
But you already have you're gonna send in an application.
This is the one when I referred in the staff meeting, the one that I was applying for Wedgeport.
Okay,
This is the
good,
same one.
good.
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll go on to district community grants. First one is East Pubnico Playground Committee.
Yes, I received a letter. They're currently fundraising to create a space for children to play sports, example, ground hockey, basketball in their playground area next to the fire hall, the playground. They are fundraising and of course everything's expensive, so they're asking for a district community grant and I like to give them $500.
Second?
Let's move over to seconder. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next one, I got a letter, yeah, for building, putting a new roof on one side of the roof on the church and the glebe house. Was it 54,000?
64.
Yes,
64.
64,000 the project, so they've started fundraising this week and they're looking for a grant.
I'll make that a motion.
I'll second that.
500. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. East Side Community Center.
Eastside Community Center is looking to, for money. We've noticed that in the kitchen, we've noticed lately that when we have suppers or something like that, we're always missing kitchen supplies. Things are being broken, utensils are missing, so they're looking to purchase more kitchen supplies for when they have a banquet or something like that. So I'd like to give them $500 for that.
Motion,
I'll make
Second.
that a motion.
moved and seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. Next one is Saint Famille Church or Parish.
With Sainte Famille in
Otherwise-
Rose Hill, what they've asked for district community grant, they're planning on holding a volume banquet in this coming spring, and with this allocation of $500, it would make the event, would help the event to take place. And so they're requesting for $500, and this is, probably Sainte Famille, so I so move that we give out the $500 to St. Joseph, probably Sainte Famille.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. And the last one was the Avens River Wharf.
Wharf Association,
Look in,
pardon me?
the look in.
Lock in. They are asking for money, that's used a lot by the community for swimming. And where they go down, you have to go down a few steps to get to the water level. And the steps they have there is starting to it's becoming dangerous. So what they are asking is if they can have some money to build, to construct concrete steps going down and a good railing. So this is used, like I said, quite a bit, and I would like to move that we give them $500 to construct
Second.
those.
They've been swimming for over a month there.
Yes, they have. They started in early
First of May.
Yeah.
Polo Bear Club?
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah.
And these are not young women.
No,
No.
that was started by Nelson. Nelson used to go
Do that.
swimming until Christmas every
Yeah.
fall, and start again at Easter. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carried. That was all the community grants, I'm quite sure, yeah. Notice of motion by councillors, does anybody have a notice? Yes, Councillor Surratt?
I have just an item that I'd like to get staff to look at. I guess in today's world, public standards are getting to be higher and higher for municipal officials, and I think the expectation dictates that we should, be more accountable. So I'd like to make a notice of motion to staff to look at the feasibility of putting council expenses electronically online, to be posted online. And I don't know, what kind of software that you would need, what kind of different, I don't know, I'm just thinking that maybe could run to expenses or staff time or whatever, or in some other software. But then again, I believe that to be transparent and that in today's age, with the public expectation dictate that all councils' expenses should be easily accessible, and having them online would be a way for us to be transparent, I guess. So if the public could look at that, if the staff could look at that, if there's any cost or any software, and bring it towards in September, if that was September, October, if that was okay.
I'd support that.
Just want to ask Mr. Chair some clarity questions.
Yes, go ahead.
Is there any particular reason why it would be only council expenses? Or
No.
would there be, are you, I guess, if you're asking staff to just simply focus our efforts on that, we can certainly do that. I guess the question I'm asking is whether there are other things that we ought to be considering, because this is fairly, this has been a fairly recent thing in the news. We were FOIPOP'd for this information. And as it turns out, the municipality very quickly gave the information and was not, certainly not in the top quartile, anywhere near the top quartile.
Didn't make the news.
No, and I guess that means we were pretty boring. So, but anyway, I'm not suggesting it shouldn't be there. What I'm asking is whether we should be considering something else.
I guess I would certainly add on, I said Councillor, I would say the CAO. Also, should there be something else? I don't know what else you could put there, like expenses of the running the municipality. You know.
Well, that information is there.
Yeah, that's
right?
okay. Yeah.
That information is there, but if somebody wanted to get specific information on specific employees and on specific expenses, just from what I know today, you don't require a whole lot. There's no additional software required in order to put it on your
I
website.
didn't know.
All it is it's basically time and effort.
Yes.
So a web page would be, I'm just giving you the information now because I have it.
Sure.
The information would be collected, so that would be time, right? And then it would be added to the website at a particular time of year, and on a basis that would be agreeable to council in order to be transparent
Right.
to the citizens. Typically, I can tell you that any salary from the CAO is disclosed in our financial statements, so that information is there. It's perhaps not easy to find
Thank you.
necessarily. It is disclosed on the financial statement and also in the budget. It's clearly disclosed in 2 locations, but if you don't know what you're looking for, you may not find it. So that's, you know, so we can have a transparency corner of the website developed. That's not the issue, it's the time. So
The town of Yarmouth has a site, I've been on it. They've had every councillor's expenses are on there. I've been looking at it for a couple of months now, and yeah, they do it on a monthly basis and
monthly.
monthly, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. But anyhow, if you could look into that and see if it was a problem, but certainly, if you've got that information, I'd rather wait till another meeting so the other councillors could digest that a bit, where I'm just bringing that up and maybe come at a next meeting and another meeting, and, you know, then the input from councillors is, hey, where it's either stops or goes or whatever, yeah, no problem with that.
Okay, so what I will do,
So
what I
that's a
will do is
notice of motion you're
Right.
gonna make.
So in the meantime, what I'll do, because it's not a motion, it's a notice of motion, I will just simply ask staff to approximate how long it would take for this
Yes.
information to be
Yeah.
compiled.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Next item is question period. Any questions from the audience, from the public? I'm hearing none.
Move
We
to
adjourn.
Thank you.
I've never adjourned.
Danny, move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Well,